Hello everyone and welcome to Barcelona for the World Magic Cup. An amazing 3 days of gaming in an amazing city. Rich Hagon, Brian David-Marshall, the Pro Tour historian with you. And BDM, it's a tremendous weekend, but it's a weekend with a slightly different cast of characters than we're used to here at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. This is international competition. This is something that happens in a very special way. So we have players who are anointed their national champions from 73 different countries here. At the end of the year, the player with the most pro points in the United States, in Malaysia, in South Korea, that player is declared the national champion. Then there were 3 World Magic Cup qualifiers. If you had enough Planeswalker points in your country, if you qualified for a certain threshold, you were qualified to play in these. There were 3 of them, and then 3 more team members were put forth through these qualifiers. You end up with 4-player teams. Those teams have all descended on Barcelona, and now we're going to get down to the process of culling those 73 teams down to our 4th World Magic Cup champion.
All right, so the way we do that is spread across 3 days, and they are very different days in feel, multiple formats, multiple ways of delivering the next stage. So why don't we start Friday morning, what happens then?
So Friday morning, the players are going to come in, they're going to sit down, and they're going to be presented with 12 packs of Battle for Zendikar. The 4 players are going to open them up, they're going to sort them out, they're going to go, oh, can you believe we got this, we didn't get this, blah, blah, blah. You know, what you've done at a sealed deck tournament, but they're building 3 decks. It's a team building exercise.
Why are they building 3 decks, not 4 decks?
Well, you know what? During any given set of rounds, only 3 players from the team will be playing. Okay. There'll be 1 player who will be assigned the coaching role. Mm-hmm. But over the course of a full day, everybody will play. It's not like one player gets exiled for the whole day.
So whoever doesn't play in the morning plays in the afternoon.
Correct.
After the 3 rounds of Team Sealed, we go to 4 rounds of Team Unified Standard. In 30 seconds or less, explain Team Unified Standard to everyone at home.
You're going to have 3 standard decks, 75 cards minimum each. You need to be able to stack them on top of each other to form a 225 card legal standard deck. That means 4 polluted deltas, no more, through your 3 standard decks.
Right, so I'm not allowed to play 3 copies of Esper Dragons. We can't all sit next to each other with the exact same list.
No, you might not be able to play Esper Dragons and Abzan Rally necessarily. Do you know what I mean? If there's enough overlap of cards.
Okay.
Specifically fetch lands in general.
Right. In any given round, if 2 of your 3 team members win, that's the round for your team. There are no 3-0s or 2-1. They don't matter. It's just if 2 of your matches are wins, you get the team win and you get the points for that round.
And each of those matches are, of course, best 2 out of 3, like in normal individual matches.
Yeah, so we just call that 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3.
Right.
On day 1 in total, then we've got 7 rounds. Best guess, most people on 4 and 3 will get into day 2 because it's the top 32 teams that come back on day 2. What happens there?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because this is what makes the World Magic Cup such a unique tournament. It is, on day 2, we use pool play. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever followed some international sports, like FIFA soccer or, other kind of like international Olympic competitions, the top seeded team, team number 1, Team 32, Team 16, Team 17, that's going to be Pool 1.
And they do round robin play. So over the course of the morning, they will all play each other. 1 will play 2, 3v4, 1v3, 2v4, 1v4, 2v3. At the end of which, who goes through?
Well, we're going to have the top 16 teams. Oh, the top 2 teams from each pool will advance to a top 16 in the back half of day 2.
You are going to hear these words quite a lot this weekend. Seeding matters. The tiebreak in the pools is whichever team had the highest seed coming into the pool, which means for number 1 and number 2 seeds, if they get a 2-1 record, they will make it through because they can't have enough teams ahead of them over the 3 rounds. And it means for number 4 seeds, they really, really need to win all their matches. Could make it in with less. If there's a 3-0, a 2-1, a 1-2, and an 0-3, then a bottom seed can make it in. But basically, if you are a 4 seed, it's sweating from the get-go.
Yeah, you go into your pool play thinking 3-0 or bust if you start at the bottom of the pool.
Okay, so we do 3 team sealed rounds again on Saturday morning with 32. Now we're down to 16. The pool play thing happens again, but but
everyone
not
gets
with
reseeded.
Right, but not with sealed. So what happens then?
Well, we go back to Team Unified Standard. So the same decks that they used on day one.
Same decks, but not necessarily the same players.
Right. They can shift them around in the seats, and there could be some interesting metagame decisions that go on there.
The decks can't move.
Oh, sure.
Only the player can move.
The players can rotate. Yes.
So that then will lead us presumably to two seeds advancing and 2 falling away again. 16 comes down to 8. Are we carrying on with pool play? Are we back with sealed? What happens on Sunday?
Well, we go into top 8 play, and it becomes a little more traditional. We have our bracket 1 through 8. Everyone gets seeded. We're going to see, and again, it's going to be best 2 out of 3, but we're going to play single elimination to a champion.
So that's almost like Mr. Norway plays Mr. Philippines, Mr. England plays Mr. Scotland. Right. We should be so lucky. Okay, so that's the shape of the weekend.
And important to note, we're going to see, because in the past, the World Magic Cup has been coupled with the World Championship. It was Worlds Week, right? And it was great and it was exciting, but you know what? It meant we didn't get to watch as much Magic maybe as we would like to have watched in either of the individual tournaments. Right. So for this tournament, we are going to get to watch all 4 quarterfinals.
Back to back?
Back to back.
Awesome.
We're going to get to watch both semifinals, and we're going to get to watch the finals. We're going to show you as much of the clinching games. We're able to hold games a little bit so that we can be like, oh no, don't worry, because it can't be decided here. We're going to watch this game, and then we're going to go, and we'll see what happens in Game 3 here. We get to show you all the action all the way through.
Fantastic. Now, 2 very interesting formats. We're going to take a look at a few cards that may just whet your appetite for limited and for constructed. We're going to get into tons of strategic insight for you from our team throughout the weekend. Why don't we take our first look at the big board behind us? And here are a few cards in limited that we think may be of interest. And this is all a question of 3s?
Yeah, we picked some uncommons and commons at 3 casting costs. Team Sealed is interesting because it almost forms like a mini block constructed format. You get enough cards with 12 packs that you really get to explore the themes that are built into the set.
Yep.
So, there is generally an allies deck, right? There is going to be an allies deck. It might be a black-white allies deck with a life gain theme. It could be Naya allies with, double strikers and
red, white, green,
menace, everyone gets menace and war callers and, but it could also be drawn as emissary, Colostria healers, all that kind of fun stuff.
Almost every deck team we think will have some kind of allies deck.
Yes.
Walk us through Vile Aggregate.
Well, you know what? There's going to be a devoid deck. That's one of the major themes in the set. It could be a red-blue devoid deck. It could be a red-black devoid deck. Maybe there's some crazy 3-color one. Maybe there's enough cards for 2 devoid decks. It's possible.
Yeah, that sort of central triangle is really interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of the ally cards come out of those colors, and it doesn't significantly weaken those colors. To see the Colostria Healers and Colostria Nightwatch go from black doesn't stop the black devoid cards from doing their thing.
Right, culling drones and all that stuff. So we could see a blue red. Black red. I really love the blue red one. Mist Intruders, Merc Striders, really getting the processor kind of engine going.
Right.
And again, get enough packs. Maybe that's not something you can do in individual Battle for Zendikar Sealed where you can't reliably get Mist Intruders and Merc Striders, but with 12 packs you do get to see enough of the cards.
This last card, Shadow Glider, doesn't look particularly exciting. It's a 2/2/5 for 3, but I think a lot of teams will be really excited if they get to be playing the deck that this belongs to.
Sure, one of the third decks that you're going to see a lot in this is blue-white flyers, right? It's the least mechanical of the powerful archetypes in Battle for Zendikar Limited, right? You have all these, kind of like, life gain, and all these triggers in the black-white allies deck. You have all sorts of devoid stuff where cards are changing zones. Blue-white flyers, you're bouncing some creatures. You're flying over with your meager 2/2s for 3, just flying over, bouncing things, tapping things, doing all sorts of stuff. It's a very straightforward, very classic deck, very classic archetype, but very powerful. This could also, though, very easily, if the right cards get opened, be an Ulamog, right?
Right.
You could see this slot go to a mana ramp Eldrazi deck.
So it's base green, it's all the mana producers, it's all the token generators.
Yes.
Maybe it's green-black, but certainly that's where the Eldrazi is likely to end up. That third slot is where we think the most play within the teams are. We expect Devoid, we expect allies, and then something. Let's take a look at Constructed. Team Unified Standard, remember, so we've got this very strange format, and we've got little, medium, large.
1, 5, 10.
1, 5, 10. So let's start with 1, Monastery Swiftspear.
Sure, it's been a really good year for Atarka red decks. The big pressure on the Team Unified Standard format is how do you allocate 20 fetch lands across 3 decks? Well, Atarka red takes 8 of them. Right?
Okay.
And that leaves 12 of them, potentially, for Esper Dragons, or 10 of them, or however you want to move that around. And then, well, you don't need any of them for Eldrazi ramp. No. And this is not the deep end of the strategy pool here. This is like where every team is starting out on Team Unified Standard, right? Every team is like, okay, this is what we can do. And what's going to be really interesting to see as we get into the backgrounds of day 1 and the teams that have really succeeded and done well into the backgrounds of day 2.
The top 16.
Yeah, the top 16. Which are the teams that have really found a way to, because here's the interesting thing, that Eldrazi deck is really not very good against that Atarka red deck. And everyone's going to have that Atarka red deck, right? Right? But then, what's the chess match that happens as people start to shuffle around the decks based on the assumptions of the decks they know people are going to be playing?
Well, we will have Frank Carsten with us all weekend long to make heads and tails of the Team Unified Standard format. Randy Buehler, of course, and Ian Duke, our team of experts, bringing you the inside of this really mind-warping format. But as BDM says, which teams are going to figure it out? Well, here's half a dozen of some of the most interesting, with like 73 to choose from. Where do you want to start, BDM?
Let's start with Hungary.
Okay.
So this is Tomáš Nagy. He's been to this tournament before. He was second in 2013 with the Hungarian team. Akos Kineris, Gabor Cox is someone
one of their best.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of respect for his play skill.
I think Hungary are always terrific because they're a real team. They're not for individuals, and that's going to be a big theme this week.
And Laszlo Kiss, of course, rounding a team. But again, this is a team that has finished second, and Tomáš has a lot of experience with the World Magic Cup at this point that he can sort of bring to his team.
Right. A lot of the teams have 2 really strong known players. If you can get 2, that's great. If you can get a third, that's amazing. Here's another nation, South Korea. They're up next, and they have the 1-2 punch, if you like. Now, Nam Sung-wook, NSW, he's the captain. You'll know lots about him, the finalist from Pro Tour Journey into Knicks. But then Park Jun-yoon, he's the other one that not everyone knows a lot about, but he's great at the GP level, has decent Pro Tour finishes, and there again, they're off the radar a lot because you don't necessarily see them in the feature match area at North American Grand Prix week in, week out, but this is a very good squad. Here's
just something that you said, also talking about teamwork. Nam Sung-wook said, we all live close together. We're really able to get good practice. So he said they were able to get together and work together very closely. He felt really, really optimistic about the team and was really encouraged to see a lot of pundits picking his team as a team to watch out for.
For sure. So how about we go next to the defending champions, and that means, BDM, Denmark.
Yeah, this was such an amazing event last year. Martin Mueller last season was the national champion of Denmark. It was kind of an unassuming team last year coming in, right? You're like, wow, Denmark, no offense. I mean, even I think if you talk to either of the Martins on this team, not a country that had put up great results on the Pro Tour, or it was a nation that had been very active in Magic, but had not had this huge success. I talked to Martin Mueller before the last World Magic Cup, and he's like, I think we have a good team. I think we could do okay. That was kind of his quote about he was like, I think we'll do okay. Well, they came in, they shocked the world. We had that amazing Dane Blast,
right?
In the finals to win, and just to give you an idea of how galvanizing that win was for the Danish Magic community. When Martin flew home through Copenhagen airport with his team, they were greeted. It was like the Beatles in Idlewild. Like, they were greeted by over 100 Magic fans. They didn't know they were going to be there. They were just like holding up signs and cheering them because like holy, cannoli, you guys won for Denmark. This is awesome. Then Martin Dang goes and wins a Pro Tour. They, just have like consistent good results. Martin Mueller, of course, plays in the World Championship. Christopher Larson and Daniel Lynn, both players who've had success at the Grand Prix level.
Right.
This is, it's weird to think of them as like an underdog team. I don't think they are,
no.
but this is a team that I just fully expect to see.
They could defend.
There's only been 3 teams in international competition that have won, only 3 countries that have ever won a world team competition twice. This could be the 4th.
Okay. Well, that's Denmark. Next up, we're going to take you to one of the red-hot favourites. It's Japan. Here's Yuya Watanabe. He's the captain. Infinite Grand Prix top 8s, infinite success, 2-time player of the year.
Most feared player on the Pro Tour.
For sure. Kenji Sumura, Hall of Famer, 6 Pro Tour top 8s, multiple Grand Prix titles. Ryoichi Tamada, Pro Tour finalist, only beaten by another Japanese player last time around. And the only unknown on this is Soyu Yu, and really the only knock, because straight up this is probably the best team in the room on paper. Number of times Japan have played World Magic Cup? 3. Number of times Japan have made day 2 of World Magic Cup? None. Surely that has to stop this time.
But remember, I mentioned that 3 teams have won at international team competition more than once. Japan is one of them. They've done it twice.
Okay. So where do you want to go next? How about somewhere?
Let's go in the Americas.
Yes. Okay.
South America. Sure, we can go to South America. Paulo Vitor Damarosa. Paul Jordan does a stats run before all these events, and he's like, wow, the numbers for the Team Brazil are pretty amazing. Oh, wait, they're almost all entirely Paulo by himself, like building up the average. And if you talk to the Brazilian team, they're pretty, we don't have a ton of experience beyond Paulo, but Paulo is super confident in the way that this team has worked under him, worked with Willie. Willie Adel, of course, the other Brazilian Hall of Famer, and pulled together Bruno Mueller, Leonardo de Castro, Lucas Esper, Betho.
Yeah, Lucas Bertu has a Grand Prix top 8 in teams, in team play. So again, someone who is a good teammate.
Sure, and he's like, I feel great. Paulo is someone who's so logical and so dispassionate about things, but for this, super enthusiastic.
Look. We're running out of time.
Okay.
So, You probably want one more, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I will give you one more. So let's tell you, of course, we know lots of you at home want to know all about Team Canada. So here they are. Sean McLaren is the... Hush now. Sean McLaren is the captain. Alexander Hayne down there, a Pro Tour champion in this room.
Yes. In Barcelona, Pro Tour Avison restored.
And then Hunter Platt and Justin
Sean McLaren
Richardson.
Also won in Spain. His Pro Tour victory was in Valencia.
Okay, so you've got sort of Canada in Europe, here in Barcelona, and then Hunter and Justin to what? Oh, we're going to extend by another 45 seconds because he has to talk to you about Team USA. Go on then.
Well, this is one of the powerhouse teams. Team Canada, there's been a lot of debate, right? Which team is better, Team Canada, Team USA? Mike Sigris, the reigning player of the year. Neil Oliver, of course, Grand Prix Vegas champion. Tom Martell, a Pro Tour champion himself. Joel Sadowski, the sort of like guy who's here to prove himself. We did an interview with them, and I was very impressed with him and his willingness to go, hey, I'm here to do what these guys tell me, which is kind of what you want in the teammate who hasn't been here before.
But also, he's played for the top 8 of a Grand Prix. If Game 3 goes differently, if he draws 1 extra land, he has a Grand Prix top 8 to his name. So this is not someone who just randomly walked into a local store and got lucky one day. I do think, in all joking apart, I do think this is a phenomenal team. And if we were just drawing it up, we would see USA and Japan carving their way through a field.
World Magic Cup has a funny way
of not letting
you draw it up, putting some really exciting teams, and again, Martin Mueller last year, maybe we didn't know who he was coming in, but he certainly made the case to be one of the most exciting young players in the game right now. And that's one of the things I love about this event is we get to see this new wave of players coming up and, potentially dominating the Pro Tour for the next decade to come.
It's going to be fantastic stuff. From the get-go, 73 countries, an electrifying atmosphere. So many people who are just grateful to be here playing the game we all love.
Hey, I'm grateful to be here watching people play the game we all love. I mean,
Absolutely.
This is super exciting.
It's going to be great. So don't you dare miss a thing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday here at Barcelona, the home for the next 3 days of the World Magic Cup. Rich Hagon, Brian David-Marshall, saying bye.